to be back in Rock Hill and at GCC. You're probably asking the same question I'm asking. Why is a football coach standing up here on a Sunday speaking to me? And I've got a really good explanation. I called Philip on Wednesday, and he was on the golf course. And I said, wow, this is what preachers do during the week, huh? And told him I was in the wrong profession. And then he asked me what I was doing on Sunday. And I said, well, it looks like you need somebody to speak for you, so I'll be there on Sunday. So, but no, it's when he asked me a few months ago to come up and be able to speak, I was really excited about it. And today's the Sunday I get to do it. I don't know how preachers do it. 2 services, I've already done this once, and I was feeling really good about things. And then he was like, 30 minutes, you're going again. I was like, man, how's this work? So first crowd was really fired up, and I got done, and I was like, man, I did a really good job. And then 2 people told me, thanks for getting us out of here in less than 30 minutes. So hope y'all are fired up when it's all said and done. But today I just want to talk a little bit about winning. For me, I'm a like I said, a dumb old football coach, and everything really comes down to winning and losing kind of in my life. And when I think about it, it's really like that for everybody. And I know that might upset a few people in here because in today's society, everybody gets a trophy, it seems, right? Everybody's winners. But we all know, and you kids in the room, pay attention, one day you're going to go into the real world, and everybody don't get a trophy, right? And everybody don't get a paycheck either, okay? So I like to be realistic with myself. I like to be realistic with my kids, and anytime that I'm speaking, I like to be realistic, and life really comes down to winning and losing, and what I want to do today is just give you some pointers, and maybe that'll help you out when you're in some of those low times of your life, and also when you're in those high times. For me, I'm just a dumb old football coach. I've got to have visual, so I brought a PowerPoint, and I'm going to pace a little bit. So other than those 2 things, just kind of bear with me. Before we get started, when I think of life, when I think of my life and talking to other people, and then I just, again, think of like a football season. I think you're like in 3 places in life, all right, currently, right now, where we stand. You're either, one, there's bombs dropping all around you, and you're in a really low place in life, and you don't know which way to look, which way to turn, where the answers are. You're just trying to survive. Or you may be on the very opposite end, which is you're on a mountaintop. It's really, really good right now. Something great has really happened, and you're sitting on top of that mountaintop, and you don't need help. You're sitting on the mountaintop, and everything's good. Or you're just kind of in between the low and the high. You're in between the bombs dropping and the mountaintop. And unfortunately, if you're in between, there's a low coming somewhere. It's just life. And there's a high coming somewhere. That's just life. So I'm trying to give you a little bit of advice and a little bit of message just around how I deal with all those 3 different parts of how my life goes. So jumping into the PowerPoint, for me, I can't sit here and spit out a lot of Bible verses and tell you where to find what in the Bible. I leave that up to Google and my Bible app, okay? So, but when I do see a Bible verse that really hits home with me, I like to put it on a sticky note, put it in my office, put it on my desk, my car, or wherever, just to kind of remind me. So a lot of the verses you're going to see today are the Bible verses that really help me get through some of these different periods. So Ecclesiastes 7:14, when life is good, enjoy it. But when life is hard, remember that God gives us good times and bad times, and no one knows what will happen in the future. So that kind of goes with that high and low, right? Right now, again, there's highs and there's lows in your life, whether it's career, personal, maybe something that's happened in the past, your family, whatever. You're in the middle of one of those highs or in the middle of one of those lows, and that's just life. And like I said, if you're just kind of stuck in between, again, it tells us right in the Bible, good times are coming and bad times are coming, and that's all just a normal part of the life that we live. So my highs, I've had a lot of highs in my career. I kind of call it the social media view, right? I'm going to give you all the good stuff, right? I'm not going to give you any bad stuff because the bad stuff is for losers. You know, if you post bad stuff on your social media, you're a loser, right? So you're supposed to laugh at that. Okay, so first crowd. They're my favorite right now. All right. So the kind of the highs for me, I've been able to be around a lot of great players, a lot of good quarterbacks, kind of put them up there from my time here in Rock Hill all the way to my time at Clemson currently. You know, the far one over, Justin Worley. It was pretty special. On Thursday, I got to go into the York County Hall of Fame with him. We spent 4 years of our life together, and it was really cool to, you know, go on stage with him and go into something like that and do it with somebody that I care for and respect for a lot. They let some guy named Clowney in with us. I don't know how he got in, but we let him ride our coattails in all the way to the Hall of Fame. It's another one you're supposed to laugh at. A lot of Gamecocks in the room right now. So, and then, you know, Mason Rudolph being another great one from here. Now with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Got his family here today, which is really special. And another former player / current, Logan Rudolph, here today, Clemson Tiger. So it's just, I've been around a lot of really, really good people in my life, from players that's taught me a lot to families of players that's taught me a lot. I've had some, you know, I did take legit social media pictures and put them on right there. I've always wanted to do a mission trip, and as a football coach, you just don't, you know, it's an excuse, but you just don't have the time. When mission trips are going on, it's usually when practice is taking place in August and when the season's going on. So going to Clemson, I had the opportunity the last 3 years to be able to do some mission trips with some of our players. And just got back from Thailand here recently, last week, matter of fact. We've done Haiti, Costa Rica, and Thailand in 3 straight years. I've had a chance to be a part of that, which is something that was really cool for me. And again, a high, something that I wanted to do, I've had the opportunity to do. But with all the highs comes some lows. And unfortunately, the lows, I don't have pictures of them because I'm not the loser that puts my lows on social media, right? Or takes pictures of myself during the lows. So I don't have any pictures of it, but know that the lows are there, and they're there for all of us. And while I went through some lows for me, you know, I had a really successful career going on at Northwestern, and we had just won another state championship in 2015. Everything was going good. Family life was great. Coach Sweeney, out of the blue, I was actually at a GCC small group. Plug for small groups, right? And got a phone call in the middle of the small group, and it ended up being from Coach Sweeney, which I thought was a joke and thought it was one of my friends playing a joke on me. I almost hung up on him. Luckily, I didn't. And he offered me a job. And from there, I've been at Clemson for the last 4 years. So, you know, things were good and great. Win that state championship in 2015, 365 days later, win a national championship with Clemson in 2016. But in between that 365 days, a lot of bombs started dropping that obviously you don't have the pictures of. For me, there was some death in my family that was taking place during that time period. And then I go through a divorce during that same time period that was really, really difficult for me and my daughters. So at that point, you know, you're not advertising the lows, but at the same time, like I said, the bombs are dropping, and you're like, what do I do now? While you're still trying to carry on the rest of your life, and you know, perception is reality. This great life's going on. All the, like I said, the hoopla, national championship, and getting this great job, but the low is still there. So for me, it was fight or flight, and I've seen this before, and I didn't really understand what it meant until, like I said, I got in a situation where I had to make a decision, fight or flight. So life is full of fight or flight decisions. You have to either decide, fight through it or fly away from it. Here's the problem with flying away from it. It's not going anywhere until you fight through it. So at the end of the day, make the decision to fight through it was the decision that I made. Now, I can't make that decision for you because you have to make that decision. Nobody can make it for you. But if you choose to fight through it, I want to give you some tips to help you fight through it. For me, I ended up looking at a bunch of stuff during this fight, and these same words kind of started jumping around. and started really taking notice in my life. So I called them my fighting words. And I want to discuss each of these fighting words and how they relate to your fight and how you can use them the same way that I used them through mine. So trust, patience, hope, and humble. The first one's trust, okay? So, again, not very smart, so I had to go to Google and get the exact definition, okay, and what trust was. And it's the firm belief in someone or something. Now, here's the deal. Everybody in the room believes in something, okay? You obviously believe in some higher power than yourself, or you wouldn't have came to church this morning or come to church as much as you do. You probably believe, hopefully you believe in your family members that are here with you today. Your job. You don't have to believe in the people that you work with or work for, but your job's not going to reach that mountaintop the way it should without some type of belief that takes you to another level. So there's got to be some type of belief. Jeremiah 17:7. Those who trust in the Lord will be blessed. They know that the Lord will do what he says. And in Psalm 37:5, depend on the Lord, trust in him, and he will help you. So for me, I took trust, and I said, I got to trust in the Lord. I got to trust in my faith, and I got to let that trust carry me through this process. So the first word was trust. The next one was patience. Now, a lot of people see me, and they like to tell me that I'm a patient person, and I really don't think I'm very patient. And if you know, again, the perception is reality. If you saw probably the reality, you'd be like, man, that dude is not patient. So patience was really, really difficult for me. The capacity to accept delay or suffering without getting angry or upset. So that's the thing right there. Patience is very difficult because we're in a world where we want it immediately, right? We're in this world. We just got done hearing the message before I came up. We're in this world where you can click on it and boom, you got it. So for kids, young adults, and then for us, older generation that's become used to it, it's like, why do we need patience when we can have it right now? Well, the problem with that is yeah, you can have stuff right now, but you can't have the real deal right now. You have to go through some things in order to learn from it. You got to go through some things in order to grow from it, and you're not learning and growing quick, right? You're not learning and growing without some pain that goes with it, and that's why patience is so difficult for people today, and the longer we go and the more technology grows, the harder patience is. So I had to really, really work on this. Psalm 37:7. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. Again, you're not clicking on anything in Google, Amazon, whatever, and getting the Lord right there to solve your problems, right? He doesn't work that way. So patience was a really, really difficult one for me, and I think it's one of the ones that I see the most with people that are dealing with struggles is they want that immediate fix. They want that immediate healing, and it's just not going to happen. The next one is hope. I don't think trust and patience means anything without this one, hope, okay? A desire for certain things to happen, trusting it will. So Jeremiah 29:11, I say this because I know the plans that I have for you. I have good plans for you. I don't plan to hurt you. I plan to give you hope and a good future. Down deep, again, you've got to believe in something, and you got to have hope that that's going to happen. And for me, you know, I've got to look at the plan that he's made for me, and I've got to have hope in that plan, and then the patience has got to kick in, and then the trust has got to kick in. But for me, hope was that big one. I was hoping and knowing that this wasn't going to last forever and that this was going to make me better. But at the end of the day, I needed a little bit of backing, and I needed to see it in his word, and that's where Jeremiah jumped in and told me, hey, got hope, and a good future's coming. So the next one is humble. And a lot of people's like, well, how does humble come into this? Having a showing or a modest, low estimate of one's own importance. So for me, I kind of looked at it, and I kind of looked at the past, and then I started thinking of, you know, where I was in the present. And it's like I got to a point where I was having a lot of success in my career, having a lot of success in my family, and just, you know, all areas of my life, it was just a lot of success. And what happens is the devil gets in your head, and he starts to tell you, you're the reason for the success. You're the reason why you're on the mountaintop. And, you know, and you start believing it. And you start looking around, and you go, yeah, I did this. I did that. And you start forgetting where all this came from. So, I've come to find out through my own story and through listening to other people's story, God finds a way to get your attention really quick in those situations. And for me, God got my attention really quick, and I started dealing with that. But even in this situation, you're going to come out of the low, but you're not going to come out of the low because of you. You have to make the decision in what path you're going to take to come out of the low, but you better be humble also in the low and coming out of it, because it takes more than just you to survive in this world, right? And it obviously takes more than just you to thrive in this world, because living in this world is not just about survival, even though at times it can feel like that. I want to survive and thrive to go to somewhere bigger and better one day, right? So the last one is, that was the last one. So now we're going to the healing process. So we just talked about fighting words, and I've never personally been in a fight. Don't plan on getting in one. I don't even know if I can fight, all right? But I know if I did get in a fight, I would probably come out needing some healing mentally and physically, right? And the way I looked at it is this. I started going through this process, and I was like, all right, I know to do this, and I know to do this, and I got these fighting words, and it's all good, but I still feel pain, and what do I do with this pain? Well, just like anything, you have pain in your life. You go through surgery, you go through a fight, whatever, and you have to heal that stuff. Well, it's no different when it comes to your mental standpoint and your spiritual standpoint, all right? So the healing process for me, there was two ways to heal. There was a godly way to heal, and there was a worldly way to heal. Okay, the godly way was very painful, but you get complete 100% healing, right? The worldly way is excruciating pain with temporary healing. Now, what does that mean? Okay, very simple. The godly way is one path, and it's the only path, by the way, but you don't have to choose to take that path immediately. The worldly way is a path that's going to loop around. It's got to eventually come back to the godly plan. So you're going to come back to this road regardless. But the worldly plan is drugs, sex, alcohol, whatever. You name it. Fill in the blank. But all that's just temporary. It's not going to fix and heal what you've got going on. It's going to temporarily do it. It's going to blind it. But then when that temporary goes off, boom, it's still there. And then you got to ask the same question and try to get a different answer. I used to tell football players this. Majority of high school football players, all they talk about is playing college football. And college football is really, really, really difficult, and a lot of them don't figure it out because they're not good enough to go play college football. But at the same time, you're not squashing their dreams. You want them to dream, and you want them to go try to reach those goals. But when they talk about college football, I start talking about grades. And then a lot of times they don't want to talk anymore, right? But the ones that stick around and want to talk about it, I talk about grades. And I tell the team, I used to tell my players at Northwestern all the time, hey, you got two ways to get to college. All you guys that are dreaming to play college football, you got two ways to get there. All right, I'm going to give you the two paths. By the way, they all end up on this first path I'm going to tell you about. The first path is you take care of your business in high school. You take care of your grades in high school. You do the hard work now in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and then you get on this path right here, which is a 4-year college path. You name the school. Clemson, right? So you name it. And then you do whatever you want to do. You go reach your goals and dreams and do your thing, okay? But if you choose to screw around now, play around now, be temporary with your grades now, there's a path over here. You're not done. There's a path over here. This is called junior college. We got anybody from Kansas in here? Good. You go to Kansas. Why would you go to Kansas? I don't know. But you're going to go to Kansas, not Rock Hill, South Carolina, and not Clemson, right? You're going to go to Kansas, and everything that you're screwing around doing right now, they're going to make you do in Kansas. Anybody from Mississippi? Or worse, Mississippi, okay? Because that's where the junior colleges are. And when you get 2 years of that, because you screwed around with your 2 to 3 years here. Then they're going to tell you, by the way, go backwards and go back to this spot right here. But when you go here, you only got 2 years to do it. Does that make sense? So why would you just not take care of business right now to get on this path and go have 4 or 5 years to go do whatever you want to do? Because that path still's got to come back here. And same way with godly and worldly. Again, I was telling my players a bunch of stuff. This is what adults do, all right? All you kids, I'm giving y'all a little extra right here, all right? This is what adults do. They tell you one thing, but then they don't do it, right? So I'm sitting there telling my players, don't worry about this, fight through it, fight through it, fight through it. Don't worry about all this over here, focus on this. And then as soon as I walk out the door, I got problems in my own life, and I'm like, I didn't listen to anything they said. I was just doing my own thing, right? So that's where I had to really make a hard decision and go, look, if you're telling your players to do this, because this is what you think's best for them, why ain't you doing it? So for me, I chose the godly way, and I said I wanted complete healing. I didn't need all the world to give me the temporary Band-Aids that were going to be ripped off anyway. All right? So you go the godly route. That's what I chose to do. Once I got into the godly route, it was like, now what? Okay? Because these are just all steps in a process. So then I go, now what? And I started with these 4 things, and I said, these 4 things is what's going to get me healed completely, and then I can move on and have a story to tell and hopefully help other people. So winning mindset, first one. If everything that I do is about winning or losing, then I want a winning mindset going into it. So the next slide is going to show you a little bit behind my mindset of what I think when it comes to winning. I don't lose. That sounds cocky, but I don't lose. I don't talk about losing. I don't use that word. I don't even think about it. We could be playing the best team ever. It don't matter. I just don't think about losing. It's just not in my mental makeup. So I either win or I learn, period. That's it. I'm either going to win or I'm going to learn. Again, keeping with the football reference because I'm just a football coach that don't know anything else, right? 2010, we won our first state championship, or I won my first state championship here at Northwestern, and everybody, I mean, it's a really big, high moment, and it's great. And I can honestly not tell you one play that happened from that game. I'll have players come up and go, remember when we did this, this, and this? And I got no clue. I mean, I just said, yeah, that was great. Yeah, gave us a trophy at the end. Hey, it was all good, right? I can't remember it. But I do remember 2008, 2009 losing in the state championship, and I can tell you every play in both of those games. It was. I can't make this stuff up. We walked into the thing for the Hall of Fame. I've not seen Worley in years to besides text and stuff, carry on conversations. And the first thing he said to me is like, man, we should have won that 2009 state championship. And he started naming 5 plays that, same mindset, right? But I will say this, we don't win 10 if we don't lose 8 and 9 and learn from it as a coach and as a player. And as devastated as I was in 8, as devastated as I was in 9, we learned from it and we won in 10. And it's 2013, won another state championship. 2012, we got beat on the last play in overtime. I walk off the field, get ready to go on a press conference, and my mom comes off the field and tells me one of my close friends had just died of cancer. I remember that day like it was yesterday. But I also didn't let that day define me, right? And I didn't let that day define our players either because we just came back and we won it the next year because we didn't lose. We just learned from that experience. And you say same thing, again, Clemson football. Everybody's great right now because we just wrote out the best college football team ever in the history of college football. That's facts, okay? But everybody tends to forget 365 days ago when we got embarrassed in the Sugar Bowl by the same football team. People forget that. But I will say this, the mindset that our players came in for the next 365 wasn't that we were a bunch of losers. It was like we were going to learn from that, hopefully, and get another shot and win. And that's what we did. So, winning mindset. Go into the next one. All right? Now, daily focus. You got to train your brain to get into a daily focus. Now, this is a graphic, and I tweaked it a little bit for us. This is a graphic. We meet every day at 2 o'clock during the season. Our football team meets in team meeting. And when they come in and sit down, this graphic is huge behind them. And this is what they stare at every single day. And it's got different things on it than what's on this one in the windshield and the rear view mirror. But this is called a windshield mentality. Have you ever thought about it? I never thought about it until I got to Clemson and saw this. The rear view mirror is so much smaller than what? The windshield. Because what's behind you is not as important as what? What's in front of you, what's happening right now. If you drove staring at the rearview mirror and just occasionally hitting the windshield, which probably some of y'all drive like that, which is why y'all ain't good drivers, right? Then there would be a lot of accidents, and you'd never get from point A to point B. But now, do you need to still know what happened in the rearview mirror? Yes, absolutely. So this is called a windshield mentality. You're focused on today, right now. For our players, what's in the windshield may be like the team that we're playing that week. It may be they may have some exams that week. You know, it always kind of changes. I kind of made this one for us. Work. There's a lot of stuff going on in work this week. A lot of stuff going on with our family. A lot of stuff, summer plans are coming up. You know, your daily walk with God. But then you look over in the rearview mirror and you can barely see it. It says past success, past failures, wins, good days, bad days. All that's great, and that's a part of you learning and growing and moving on, good, bad, or ugly, but it's got to be in the rearview mirror. Our rearview mirror right now says 2018 national champions. Because as great as that is, and we'll remember it forever, and every now and again we'll look back and be like, man, that was awesome. It's the past. It's not going to win us today, right? It's not going to win us tomorrow. So you got to have a windshield mentality, one day, 1 mile at a time. Philippians 3:13, forgetting what is behind, focusing on what's forward and what lies ahead. Next one. And then resources. A lot of people's like, well, where did you go to get some of this stuff? And for me, it was just, I went to different spots for help. All right, so I've got the Bible app, and there's a ton of reading plans on there, and I just stayed in different reading plans trying to just learn, right? Philip gave me a good prayer app that I use, I still use today. I think you got to have fellowship, and I think you got to have fellowship with believers, right? And you got to be around people that are kind of wired like you when it comes to faith and how you see the big picture. I also think this is really a struggle. I think you got to reach out to people that's got similar struggles as you. And the problem with this is a lot of people are just embarrassed of whatever situation they're in, okay? You know, I never knew how many people had gone through divorce, had getting ready to go through a divorce or whatever, because I wasn't hanging out with those people, right? And those people weren't really reaching out to other people that had those similar struggles to learn from the good, the bad, the ugly of what they did. So I think this is important because, like, drug addicts, for instance, you know? Like, you don't want to, hey, who's a drug addict in the room? And you raise your hand, oh, yeah, that's me, right? Hey, who, you know, whatever. You go down the line, fill in the blank. But I do think you can learn from people that's had similar struggles, and I've tried to help people that have reached out to me to try to help them through it. Books, I usually wait for the movie to come out, but hey, books sounded good. Support groups, and then your church. I mean, even today, you know, every Tuesday, Wednesday, I get the sermon. I listen to what's going on at GCC on my way into work, and then I'm constantly in touch with Philip. Lean on your church, lean on your small group, all right? And then the next one is you got to trust his plan, all right? He's got a plan, and you got to trust it. So I really like this graphic because it tells a lot, again, in this picture. This big picture right here is the last picture I took with my staff at Northwestern. Had no clue that, you know, 2 months later I'd be getting offered a job at Clemson. Honestly, we just won that game 63-13, set a bunch of records, and we had everybody coming back for the next year. It was going to be a pretty good, I'd say we'd probably had a pretty good year in 2016. Loved my staff. Some of my staff was here this morning for the earlier one. I mean, it was all good in that picture right there. And then you go to the little one up there, and that's my 2 daughters, one of them here today. And that's 365 days later winning the national championship. But in between those 2 pictures was some really, really hard times, right? Nobody saw those. And a lot of it I dealt with just myself, which is why I'm trying to help some people today with my message. But I do know this. I look back at those pictures, and I think back to those 365 days and longer. But I think back, and I know the yesterday has produced a better tomorrow, and I also know it's going to produce a better future as long as I keep on the same path that I'm on. So I like this graphic. I got it hanging up in my wall, and I just wanted to hang it up in my office. I just wanted to show you all that. So I'm going to end the way a good football coach does. He always ends with something positive, right? So we're going to end with two pieces of good news. Here's the first one. Your past doesn't determine your future. Your past does not determine your future. Some people are in this room going, my past is way too screwed up. My problems are way too screwed up. I ain't got a chance. What you saying sounds good, but I ain't going to be able to do it because my past is too screwed up. Well, gave you some examples, okay? Again, Google. Here we go. Google. I got a little Google. Moses, David, Samson. Okay. So I Googled the most screwed up Bible characters in the Bible, ever. I put ever, right? And this is what it gave me. It gave me Moses, David, Samson, and Rahab. And there was a lot of others. I just stopped at those. It was kind of male-dominated, so I threw a female on there just to make sure we understood there was some female screwing up, okay? So Moses, the murderer. David was an adulterer. Samson was a womanizer. Rahab was a prostitute. Again, the list is long. Their past, they got every right to say, my past is too screwed up. I'm not going to have a great future because of it. We have the future that we have because of their past. Think about it. Think about the stories that you read in the Bible and how all that plays up to us being able to have a great future is because they screwed up, but they didn't allow their past to dictate their future, okay? Last one. More good news, okay? God never says oops. God never says oops. And what I mean by that is God's got a plan, and he already knows the plan, and he is perfect, and he don't screw up. So things are happening in your life. He's not up there going, man, hit the wrong button. That wasn't supposed to happen, right? He's not up there going, dang, that stinks. Oops. He don't say oops. It's all part of his plan, and his plan will always be better than yours. Always. It's just, are you willing to accept his plan and all the work that goes with his great plan, right? So God's plan will always be better than yours. This is the part where I say even Drake believes in that, and you're supposed to go, oh, yeah, God's plan. Okay, I told Philip I wasn't going to use it for the second one because it hit really good in the first one. I should have stayed on that high note, but I didn't, all right? So at the end of the day, God never says oops. He's got a plan. Your past doesn't determine your future. Whatever you're going through, you've got to, I hope I gave you some tips and some pointers to maybe help you get through it. And if you're on the mountaintop right now, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I told you I was going to end positive, so I'll end positive, but I'm going to give you a little negative. The bombs are coming. Just the way life is, right? But the positive is you got God on your side. You will survive it, and you'll thrive through it. My contact information is on the next one. If you ever need anything, Clemson Way besides tickets, don't get hit with that too much. Anyway, contact me. I really appreciate you letting me come, and God bless you.